For them not understanding that you're in class. All right, so let's go over our definitions. We're going to review them and make sure we have a good understanding. You had chapter 1 definitions that had to be completed. So you went to files on the right-hand side, and under files, you opened your chapter 1 definitions. Now, these definitions are broken into, if you look at it, maybe like 2 subsets, okay? So first we want to talk about what is a computer. Somebody give me the definition of a computer. Talk to me. This is, let me set the stage. I apologize. Row 2, row 3, I'm sorry. Earbuds are out. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're sitting down in the family den. We're having a conversation. You don't have to raise your hand to talk. But if one person's talking, the rest of us are what? Listening. Now, we're talking over the music next door and the people outside at the bathroom. So you may have to remove your mask or stand up or step back in order to have a conversation. So first thing we want to start off with is, what is a computer?
A computer is something that you can use to do work or do a lot of stuff like actual job work, or like you can watch things like games.
What you want to add to that?
A computer is an electronic device that manipulates information.
It manipulates information so that you can do your work, play games, whatever you want. I want you to put that keyboard down, and I want you to close out that typing program. I want you to put your iPad, let's listen for the definition. So, it's an electronic device.
Yeah.
This electronic device has a function, and we're going to look at input, output, and processing. The definitions are in order, but this is how we go. We can use devices to input information. Like when we're typing on the keyboard, it inputs information. And it inputs information into the processor, the CPU, the central processing unit. And for you, all of that is in here. All right? This is the central processing unit. So it thinks about it. If you were back in the 90s, it would start, the computer would start, because it's thinking and it's sending information. Then what it does is it gives you an output. There's a visual you can see on your screen, and you know if it's what you want or not, right? So it's not what you want. You go back into input, make your changes. I can use my keyboard. I can use my mouse to make my changes. It thinks about it, it processes it again, and it gives me another output. That's the basic of an input-output system. So I look at this output and I like it. It's what I want. Now I have the option to print it, or I can save it. These are still output devices. All right? Because it's out of here and it's in another location, right? Does that make sense? Okay. So, with that being said, give me an example of an input device other than the keyboard and the mouse.
The motherboard?
Huh? The USB input device. We can put information into the system. What can we use to put information into a computer?
A chip.
A camera. A camera. You take the picture, it processes the picture, you get to see what it looks like. All right? So now we talked about output devices. We talked about the printer. We talked about the video monitor, and we talked about the CD-ROM. What are some more output devices?
Output means like
It comes out. It's out of the processor. We can put it somewhere else.
an Xbox?
The printer.
You got the printer. What's the one you gave me the last time? USB, because we can save the information to it. Now, what is the Xbox itself?
It's its own
Is it an input, output, or processing device?
processing.
It's a processing device because you have the what? What's in your hand? The control, which is a input, and whatever you click on the control goes into the Xbox. To think about it, I need you to close it out and pay attention, son. And then you get the output on your screen. And you get to see your sprites and whatever it is you're trying to get them to do. Or they did something that you made them do, but it wasn't what you wanted them to do, which would be my case. All right? So, we talked about input-output devices. Any questions? Y'all start to understand the process. So now let's talk about, there's 2 types of software. There's software and there's hardware. Hardware is anything you can touch, physically touch. Hardware. Hardware. Software is the set of
Instead of instructions
the
that.
set of instructions that the computer uses or the hardware uses. So you don't actually get to touch it, all right? But you manipulate it by using the input device. Does that make sense?
Like, when you're trying to get on something.
Yeah, yeah. You put what you typing in, and then the computer's thinking about it, and then it say, "Oh, password wrong." Fitz, I need you to close that. Now, what we're gonna do now is, here we go. I'm coming to your house, and I knock on the door. That is the actual application. Not application, I'm sorry, the operating system. That's the operating system. I knock on your door. That's the house, the operating system. So when I knock on your door, your parents open the door, right? So now, think about it. When you cut on your iPad, or when you cut on your desktop, that's knocking on the door. And then the computer wakes up, your screen comes on, you get the commands that roll through real quick in black and white, and then you get a nice symbol or a sign. That's the operating system. What symbol or sign do you normally get?
Microsoft Excel,
Okay. Or Apple or
Samsung.
those are operating systems. Does that make sense? That makes sense. Okay, now. So now we say here you have to decide with the application, what do you want to do? Miss Young, I'm at your house, and the first thing y'all say is, you want something to eat? And you say, yeah, where are we gonna go?
Applebee's.
To the kitchen. All right. So if you want to cook or get something to eat, you go to the kitchen. We come to your house and you say, let's sit down and look at TV. We go to the den or the living room. Okay. So depending on what you do is where you go. So with an application program or an app, which you normally call them, if I wanted to draw, I would go to
A paper.
go
A
where?
table.
Go where? What did you say, Chad? You said it.
I said the table.
The tables. I got to draw the tables. What else can I draw? What else can I use to draw?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes. A computer.
We're on the computer. We're opening our iPad and we want to draw. What application will we use?
Sketchpad.
Sketchpad.
Sketch paint.
Doodle. Sketch paint. So now I want to write an essay for my teacher. What application am I going to?
Google Docs.
Google Docs.
File.
Huh?
File.
Slides. You can, but that's not the
That's
main
like
purpose of slides.
File is like for presentation.
Slides is like
For a
presentation. If I want to create a presentation for my class, then I go to slides. If I want to type, I usually go to docs. So whatever you want to do depends upon what application you open. Does that make sense? All right, row 2, you're on those computers. Keep on. So here's another one I saw messed up. What is a personal computer? Personal computer.
It's your own computer.
It's where a computer lets you do stuff that not school computers can do.
It's your own computer. It's a computer that only you use.
Say it again.
Computer you only you use.
What is that?
The computer that is like it's meant for one person to use.
Say it again. It's meant for
One person to use.
one person to use. Now it don't have to be just you. You're sitting at a personal computer because you're using it now and only you can sit there and use it. But when you finish using it, then the next class come in and only one of them can sit there and use it. So it's just for one person. Trying to see if I found what I need. Oh, shit, I'm not logged in. These were the first computers in the corner, on the right corner. They initially took up maybe half of this wing. and they had big industrial fans blowing on them, like you see at family reunions and outside events, to keep them cool. All right, and it took more than one person to sit here and work it. I did one end doing something, you did the other end doing something. So this is what we were working with.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
I
it.
don't do that.
Then we came and we got advanced.
Yes.
And we ended up with something that looked similar to this. All right, this one had a floppy drive. You could put your drive in on one side and it had the commands of the software. And then when you took it, when it's loaded, you took it out and put it on the other side and got the application programs and the games. All right. Then we got a little bit better. We got here. And so suddenly we're to where we are today. But it was a process to get there. All right. And the concept was when we started off with these, people were saying that they wanted everybody to be able to have a computer in the house. These were initially just for numbers. All they did was ran numbers. They didn't do anything else. No pictures, no text, no messages, no music, no games, just numbers. They just ran numbers. They just crunched numbers all day long.
Oh, that's boring.
No, it was needed. It was needed. It was more for the business industry than it was for the personal industry. And then people were saying that they wanted to be able to use it in the personal industry, and they wanted it to the point where the first set of computers that came out for home were very expensive, very expensive. And you paid about $5,000-$6,000 for a system.
What?
All right, yeah. And then they said, well, they wanted where every home could afford a system. So we got the price. Well, one or two people got the prices down, and then you ended up with the personal computers you guys got now that you can get for $200-$300 of. You can go out there and pay. If you pay $1,300, you think you paid too much. You can get it for about $400. So that's how we got to where we're at today. That's the process of the computer. So when we say a personal computer, we're talking about something like this where just one person can work on it at a time. It doesn't take 10 or 15 people to run the entire system. Does that make sense? Thumbs up if you with me. Thumbs down. Thumbs to the side if you really don't care. All right. So that is the computer system. Now, with that being said, peripherals. And then I'm gonna leave this alone. What is a peripheral? One of your definitions. Anybody who hadn't finished chapter 1 definition, if you did them while we was talking, you should be about 80% finished. What was peripheral? A peripheral is, talk to me. A device.
Morning.
Good morning. Huh? A device that,
Wait,
what is a peripheral? It was one of your definitions. Say it again. You answer in chat? Okay. Okay, let's think of a gaming system. I'm gonna let you get the gist of it and you tell me what it is. On the game, you have to have the hardware of the system itself, and then you have to have an input device. So they basically come with a controller, and I can press the X to Y, the up or down, and I can work the system, right? Now, I have to have an output device. So I have a monitor that comes with it, and I can see my game as I play it. I am playing a card game. So I can have this all day long. Or I can go to the store and I can buy what for a card game? A steering wheel, right? Do I have to have the steering wheel in order to work the game?
no.
That's a peripheral. It makes the game more fun, but it's not a necessity.
A device that.
It's not necessarily needed, but it enhances the program or your usage with the program. Does that make sense? All right. I know you're doing something else. I got one of them doing the same thing, but that's okay because when I sit here and say, do me a flip grid video and explain it, and they looking at me like what I'm supposed to do, baby, I ain't gonna worry myself. You just get yours. Let them sit right there like we don't know what they're doing. All right. So any more of the definitions that you have a question about? I didn't go over microprocessor. We didn't talk about storage, but we'll come back to that. Any questions? No questions? All right. Now, here's where I'm going to go. Today's assignment. Glad you came back. Maybe your neighbor will come back too. I can hear you exceptionally slow. Somebody open today's assignment. that it? All right, you had to do the ER, you had to check your grades, you got a video to look at and take note on assembling, and reassembling a personal computer. And then you got your studio code. And yesterday, when we went to the module, on yesterday's assignment, which was the missing consonants worksheet, when we went to the presentation right here, everybody see where I'm at? Might as well highlight, it's the very first one, right here. When we went to the presentation, when you open the presentation, you got a slideshow. On the slideshow, you had to go to number 6. Because number 1 just told you what class you was, number 2 was your quote for the day, and 3 was your standard, which was to investigate and identify the basic components of a computer and network. Your essential question says you can identify the main parts of the computer and their function. We just sort of went over that, right? And then you had your warm-up, which was your missing consonants worksheet that you turned in for a grade. Those of you that didn't do it got a 0. You've done it in the last 20 minutes. So you're going to ask me to reopen it so you can submit it. And then the assignment. Now on the assignment, you had to click on the word computer. When you did that, it opened up this Glencoe activity. In here, you went through and did the modules. We started with introduction. When you click on the word about this tutorial, it opens. And then you read through the material. You notice that if you was in Safari, you could look at the video. So if you're in Google Chrome, you can see the video. You went through, you looked at it, you read it, and then you hit continue. You got to one of these modules, and it told you to take the plug and plug it into a laptop. What was it? A desktop. You had 3. When you finish that, you got to check. Screenshot that, or either you having it plugged in and you check, and turn it in today for a grade. So if you didn't do your module yesterday, guess what you're doing?
That's today.
Thank you. Any questions about your assignment? Talk to me, Chad.
There's three computers that
Yeah.
you can do. Are you?
I want all 3. I want all 3.
So the chapter 1 definition, the data